Everyone. My name is Diana Zegers. I'm the National Curriculum Manager here at Big Green, and today we wanted to take an opportunity to provide an introduction to you for our new set of curricular materials for the K-8 audience called Ready, Set, Grow. This was a curricular series that we had planned to release to schools in the fall. However, given the very unique and challenging situation that we find ourselves in presently due to this national health crisis, we've decided to release these materials now as an open source, and they will remain that way through the remainder of the school year. We're excited to also share that Ready, Set, Grow, unlike some other curricular options that Big Green has had in the past, is actually meant for any teacher, not just teachers within the Big Green Learning Garden network. This curriculum was developed for any teacher who has access to a growing space, such as container garden, a greenhouse, perhaps even an in-ground garden, or other methods of raised bed gardening. In this overview, we're going to provide a high-level introduction to the curriculum. We'll review the structure or how it has been developed and organized. We'll talk through some options for implementation of this curriculum in a more typical situation, hopefully fall when everyone is back at school. And we'll also talk about how we're supporting you to adapt this to this remote and virtual learning environment that many of us find ourselves in. Finally, we'll conclude with an overview of some additional resources that may be of value to our teachers across the country. So what is Ready, Set, Grow, and how is it different than other curricula offered by Big Green? A couple of years ago, Big Green set out to evaluate its existing curriculum. We utilized annual surveys, a third-party evaluation process, and focus groups with our implementing teachers across the country. There were many trends across those 3 points of evaluation, and one of the most important was that teachers offered advice that if our curriculum were better aligned to the academic standards and skills they were asked to meet, it would be more likely to be implemented. So Ready, Set, Grow was really established around better alignment to fewer but deeper standards through activities and tasks. Ready, Set, Grow aligns to the next generation science standards, specifically the life science domain. Many of the disciplinary core ideas from that strand can be found in the curriculum, as well as opportunities for students to practice the science and engineering practice standards within that framework. Each of the lessons for English language arts focus on the Common Core standards. Throughout the series, students will have opportunities to practice their skills at an appropriate grade level in all areas of the ELA standards, including speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And finally, there's an alignment to the National Health Standards, which underwent a revision recently. Those standards focus on students developing the capacity to set goals, to communicate, and to engage in positive decision making, which is a wonderful supplement to the other two frameworks I've noted. So this curriculum is aligned to academic standards through the lens of gardening, having the skills to grow one's food, but also to make good decisions about how to select and eat, and ultimately prepare food that is healthful and fresh. How does Ready, Set, Grow work? This curriculum is divided into 3 distinct grade bands. There are K2 lessons, 3-5 lessons, and lessons designated for middle school, 6-8. Within those grade bands, the organization of the learning is in the module or mini-unit format. Each series begins with a core lesson, typically connected to plant parts, structure and function, or variation and inheritance of traits. But then it moves into a deeper opportunity in a science lab setting that is organized around the claim, evidence, and reasoning framework. Students will then have an opportunity to deepen their understanding of the concepts in the core lesson by moving it to a classroom cooking experience. This allows, there's a lot of flexibility within the kitchen lessons, a variety of recipes that are suggested, and the flexibility for teachers to be able to kind of go where their students are in terms of their familiar recipes that may be part of their community or home. And then finally, the last lesson in the series is ELA, and that lesson series is called Gardeners Take Action. And students are challenged to find ways to communicate what they have learned in the series. Sometimes that comes in the form of speaking and listening, so perhaps they'll engage in a discussion. Other times it'll be a writing task within the genres called for in the Common Core standards. So, how can we use this during the school year? This curriculum was designed to be delivered in a face to face environment, which we all know is not happening this spring. However, we know that teachers value time to engage with the curriculum, which is why we have released it early, one of the reasons why we have released it early. This curriculum can be taught as a full series within one classroom at a grade level or within one grade level. That may be possible in some areas where there's a great amount of flexibility for curriculum implementation. It also could be taught as mini units at one or more grade levels. So, for example, in the 3-5 band, it's possible that the third grade team may choose a couple of the modules, the fourth grade team a couple, and the fifth grade team a couple. In that organization, it's likely that all students will be able to have access to these learning opportunities and increase their interaction in the outdoor space. We also know that sometimes that level of organization isn't possible, and so it actually could be that a teacher could choose to teach any one of these as standalone lessons as their schedules allow. Of course, the reality is that many of us are not going to school. We are at home and trying to facilitate learning to children in their home environments. So you may be wondering, what can we do now? Well, this set of curriculum is available as an open access document through the remainder of the school year. So one choice a teacher could make would be to just use this time to become familiar with the curriculum and consider how you may be able to implement it in the fall when students hopefully return to school. That provides you an opportunity to dig in and to play or even to collaborate with your colleagues about how you maybe could implement this. There is an online training that is coming soon that will dive a bit deeper into the modules and offer some supports in terms of how teachers may deliver this most effectively, provide some demonstrations to some of the lessons and the cooking, classroom cooking opportunities. At this time, Big Green's education team is actually also working on bridge lessons and activities to share with teachers who are looking for materials to utilize now with students that could be delivered in a remote environment. Those first bridge lessons will actually be available on Big Green's new educator site called biggreenathome.org. Those are available starting now and will continue to populate those over the course of the next many, many weeks. So teachers could look there to find inspiration for immediate implementation or utilize this time to think about how you may implement this in the future. For spending some time with us today and learning more about Ready, Set, Grow. In conclusion, I'd also like to offer you some resources that could be of support to yourself, other educators, and the families that you are serving. You have probably found the Big Green at Home .org website that was launched especially for our educators and families, and the Educator tab, where we are going to continue to develop resources in these 4 areas over the course of the spring and summer. Some of you are maybe familiar with the greenhouse, which is a link on our traditional website, biggreen.org. It's under the Teaching in Your Garden tab. The greenhouse hosts over 500 resources, some of which are Big Greens, but many of which come from the very broad school gardening support network. That's a treasure trove of resources and videos and lessons that you can peruse that may be of use to you at this time. We also this week launched the first ever Big Green Educators Facebook group that is really intended to be a collaborative space for our educators. We hear so many wonderful and inspiring things that our teachers are doing with their outdoor spaces and gardens, and we really want to be able to have an opportunity for you to share those with each other, to learn and to be inspired. And finally, we do have an email distribution and publication called The Beat. We used to distribute that monthly. During this time, that will be coming out weekly to provide updates to educators about new resources we are developing. If you don't currently receive that, you can sign up, and the sign up link is at the bottom of the biggreenathome.org educator tab on our newly created website. Thank you so much for spending time with us, and be well.